And still going to the women's toilets.
Yeah.
Still adhering to the gender norms.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, but that's also how you find Meryl in Shadow Moses is taking out the women's toilets. What else have you got? Oh yeah, anonymous voice messages. Anonymous messages who end up being Grey Fox.
Grey Fox.
So Grey Fox, and again, he tells you in both cases he warns you about a minefield.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because then in the end of the Metal Gear 2 game, you and Grey Fox have a fist fight in a minefield. Which is fucking hardcore.
Before he's the ninja, obviously.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, actually, funny you should say about ninjas. And there is a ninja in Metal Gear 2. He is actually the character Kyle Schneider, who is a South African character from the first game. And you think he's basically, he gets killed off in the first game, but he actually gets brought back as not a cyborg ninja, but more like a brainwashed ninja.
So very similar, a predecessor to Grey Fox and Raiden.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Who had possibly the biggest character arc ever. Went from universally disliked character to a badass fucking ninja.
Yeah. So pretty much like Metal Gear Solid is, for all intents and purposes, a spiritual successor to Metal Gear 2. Just done with better graphics and not having the the previous information, the previous context of the first two Metal Gear games. So you basically remade the same game, but did it on the PlayStation. And all of us were on the wiser.
Trying to remember, actually, why is the story behind Raiden becoming the ninja?
So he actually, I remember this from.
I'm trying to remember.
I remember reading the Metal Gear Solid 4 Apocrypha. So the story was a couple of years after the events of Sons of the Patriots, when the Arsenal Gear crashed to Manhattan, he joined Philanthropy, which was Snake and Otacon's NGO. So he fought alongside them basically to wipe out Metal Gears across the world, and that's why, like, in MGS4, Snake refers
like Rose left him or something. I can't fucking remember.
Rose didn't leave him at the time, I think. I can't recall. But in any case, Sonny was born. Obviously, and the rescue mission was to try and save Sonny. So it was between Raiden and Snake, basically, both infiltrated, of all places, Area 51.
Nice.
And basically, Snake survived, but Raiden got captured. And Raiden was tortured and accidentally died.
Okay.
But basically, because the Patriots' rule was that Raiden had to stay alive, so basically Area 51 experimented on him and made him the cyborg ninja in the same way that they did with the Patriots did with Frank Yeager. Yeah. So he was like, for all intents and purposes, the AI, the Patriots AI were literally making him the next Grey Fox, because that was the meme they were using, was that, like, it has to be a cyborg ninja in this loop. There has to be someone in this. Because of course this is after the virus is uploaded to the whole
so
server.
Always the Patriot intention.
Yes,
was to make him the ninja.
Raiden was always meant to be Frankie. In a sense, Frank Yeager was the original. So remember in Portable Ops, where we find Frank Yeager, who ended up being Null. So he was brainwashed and double-thinked into becoming a ninja. And effectively that was the pattern. So then basically when the brainwashing wears off, and one of, like, Big Boss's, like, pet projects was to rehabilitate this former child soldier he met before this in Mozambique or Zimbabwe. He's from Zimbabwe, and he was albino. So he was automatically being annexed from this community anyway because of the white hair and the white skin. So he basically adopts Yeager for himself. He goes missing. A couple of years later, he finds him in San Geronimo as this ninja, and that's how he gets through to him. To the extent then when he basically comes out of it and he becomes his most trusted lieutenant in Outer Heaven. So at that point, you already have the background of being a child soldier turned cyborg ninja, and that's who Frank Yeager becomes Grey Fox. So now, conveniently, the Patriots have now found another one, this time in Liberia, same background. This time it's Jack, who was known as Jack the Ripper. which again is also appropriate because Frank Jaeger's German for hunter, so he is the Frank Hunter. And again, you have Jack the Ripper, who end up becoming Raiden, who end up becoming the Cyborg Ninja, and it's the same pattern. That's it. It is Kojima's trope of history running in circles, but instead of history running in circles, it's the Patriots memes running in circles.
Yeah,
that's why the whole point of Metal Gear Solid 2 is that it is literally a sequel of Shadow Moses. They are repeating the same story beats.
Yeah.
Very, very deliberately. And then Metal Gear, and then the Phantom Pain is the opposite of that.
I did know that with the game, even before twists etc. showed up in it. Like, it is very, very blatantly like, this is our Psycho Mantis. This is our, this is fucking.
Fortune is Psycho Mantis because you can't hit her, and you have to try and find a workaway around it. Fat Man is your Revolver Ocelot because it's a top-down approach and it's grid. It's a grid-based view. Actually, he's technically the Vulcan Raven, really, because it's the same premise. And then of course Vamp is the guy you just can't kill off, so he's the Revolver Ocelot. He's the Liquid Snake. And the guys think if they had their way, they would have had a analog for Revolver Ocelot, who was a hero called meant to be the End, and he got thrown into Metal Gear Solid 3. He was meant to be an old sniper called Old Boy, and he's supposed to be a German sniper from like World War One, but he got cut basically for just another sniper battle, I think, in the game.
I thought it was really interesting to me, the story of Ocelot in the whole thing, where I know it was probably intentional, but he seemed to go from such like a relatively minor secondary character in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
not minor, but not liquid.
Yeah,
to the main bad guy essentially.
But he is the only person of Foxhound to survive Shadow Moses, so I suppose that's why he got reused.
And then it's like Liquid isn't actually in him; it's just fucking.
It's double take. Yeah. And then they go and do it over and over again. So essentially, the Ocelot that we find in by the end of like Guns of the Patriots has been brainwashed technically 3 times, which is like. I don't even count all the levels of fucked up. It's just fucking weird at that stage.
That fight at the end of which one is it?
4,
where you fight Ocelot. It would be 4, yeah. Where it goes through essentially all the music of every Metal Gear, and you like fist fight him completely the whole way through. And that was a fantastic final battle.
It's an excellent finale,
like brilliant, epic in every way, like.
But what's best about it is that the fighting style changes from stage to stage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it keeps changing, and the music changes and everything, and it's like, okay, this is an actual culmination.
Yeah.
And it made you feel like it was the end, but it was not.
No, Konami said otherwise.
Q Morgan Freeman, or fucking, not Morgan Freeman, Q fucking, say his name from Arrested Development.
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. This was not the end. Like,
at that point, Hideo Kojima went into rehab. Yes, that's right, I did. And when I came out again, I decided to make a game for the PSP that nobody played. And then I made another one that everyone else plays.
Like, I wasn't a huge fan of 5.
Yeah, it was one step too far, unfortunately. With
that's what I think. It was, I see what they were doing. It was just,
The gameplay was brilliant. I will say it plays superbly. It's the best of the series gameplay.
You could have just ended it at 4 and it would have been a nice little bow.
Yeah.
Because they did so much work on 4, having this big half-hour long fucking cutscene at the end, wrapping up all their little loose ends.
See, this is always the trade-off with like Kojima. Like, you see, like for my own like very like tentative experiments of writing, I cannot leave a thread like unattended unless I have an intention to pull it later on. So if you're like, even if I'm looking at scripts and I'm going like, okay, have I resolved this? No. But do I intend to resolve it this time? No. It's being kept for next time. Because I want other people to think, well, hang on, why has that not been dealt with? I was like, it will be dealt with, but just next season. In the same way where Kojima, I don't think he does it that way. Kojima likes to write a grey matter bit of grey matter there for people to fill their own blanks into. And that is a real faux pas for writers generally. Like TV writers and novelists and all these other people tell you must cover everything. You must not leave any fucking stone unturned.
Oh, half the time I'm convinced he doesn't have a plan for some things. He just kind of goes with it.
I'm inclined to say that too, because I think it's also like that's his kind of hand wave. Is that like, well, it's a video game. The player has their input as well. You tell me what happens. Like, no, you're the one that fucking designs it. You tell me, kind of way. But
yeah,
that's his point of view on it as well. And I suppose as a video game director, he kind of has a point, because that's what makes the medium different to novels and TV shows, is that we don't get told everything. We have to infer, and we not only infer, but we contribute our bit into the lore as well. And that's where
it forces him to actually like, okay, I can go with this for the sequel.
Like, yeah, a little bit, because essentially Raiden was introduced in Metal Gear Solid 2 is because he went with an all-female test group for the game, and nobody liked Snake, so he literally picked Raiden. And you can tell, like, when you kind of work back what his logic was, the reason was that he wanted to find a design a character that was the exact opposite of Solid Snake, so that when we started playing him, we as players are going, what the fuck is going on? Where is it? Where is our boy? Where is the man? Yeah. And that was all part of the thinking as well. But that's saying he is working on a level of reality that only fucking LSD will get you on, the kind of way. And even then, you might need to. At that point, you might have to upgrade the fucking synthetic cathalones, right? But the thing with Kojima is that sometimes what actually saves him from himself is the lack of money or technology. So now we're at the stage where he has all the money and has all the technology. You see how obtuse he can get and how abstract it becomes. And Phantom Pain was kind of the warning about that, where like he's just trying too much now to try and be meta and to do that, where it is actually better to just keep it simple and just tell the story as you should, because you've done enough lore and background and all sort of stuff by just adding layers upon layers that overwrite itself, I suppose that's also the hubris of game auteurs as well, is that they think they know everything, Sorry, this is us in the Beyond the Hospital, and this is the director of the hospital, Chris. And I'll give you 5 points if you can guess what movie she's supposed to be aping right now.
Basic Instinct.
There you have it.
Why did I think Fatal Attraction?
Because you're uncultured.
But as you find out, she actually does have a connection to the Policenauts.
You've really grown up.
Again, you can see why this is only a Japanese game, because like these two like lecherous old men are just having a lot of fun now. It's a very cultural thing. It just doesn't translate at all. Because whereas like like the American like heroes would be kind of like written to be charmers and all these other people, whereas Japanese ones are like nosebleeds and panicking, sexy woman in front of me. Kojima very much writing his sexual repression on his sleeve here.
Mosquito.
Yes. So remember back in Tokugawa Pharmaceuticals, one of the projects that Hojo had done was basically making drug delivering mosquitoes. Basically man-made like robots that act as insects in the ecosystem. Yeah, this is a little plot point. So Chris doesn't even remember the name of the baby in the picture, and yet has it framed on our mantelpiece. And then this is how they met the first time. So that's Chris in the middle, and then there's all 5 of the original Policenauts, apparently posing for a teen magazine at the time. You can see Ingram is fun to have around.
We'll be in 14 then.
Yeah.
So if it's 3 years later, Jesus.
Mid-40s, yeah.
Of course they did.
There you go. See, well, again, you shouldn't be surprised as you. So there is actually, despite all the lecherous parts of the game that Kojima throws in as a semi joke, there is actually a reason why smell always comes up as an option for Chris, because she hates the smell of pharmaceuticals, the kind of the plasticky kind of smell to it. So she basically just wears lavender perfume all the time. So the key thing is
a point of later on that we have to actually figure out.
If we smell lavender in the area, yes.
Or if we don't smell lavender on her, then something's wrong.
Something's wrong, exactly. The opposite is true. So
that could be taken well out of context, that part of the conversation.
Oh god, yeah. And like I said, it is part of the proverbial taboo of the game, where you can be just basically act like a pervert to all the female characters, and there's absolutely no rhyme or reason. It's just that Kojima does it because he's weird. Like thankfully he does tone it down to a certain extent in the Metal Gear Solid games, and then he kind of reverts to the mean den with the likes of Quiet back in the Phantom Pain. But yeah, it's just a weird part of the game that just doesn't translate, and it's just so completely unnecessary. I would hope so. That's the whole job of a pharmacist, I think. Otherwise, it's a bit fucking weird. Right, that's interesting. So so Chris has never heard of Hojon before, even though he was meant to be dropping off 100 boxes of the super secret project over here.
Red flag.
Yep. And like I said, we know he's had work with the hospital before, because Saito, the security guard, basically says that he's the contact between Tokugawa and the hospital. So we know he's a go-between. And this is also for all the other projects that he does beforehand. So when they're talking about drug delivery systems and all this sort of stuff, there is actually a real life example already, which is the nicotine patch. That's something that they mentioned in the game already. So this time is stuff like mosquitoes that are delivering you vaccines for malaria instead of actual malaria. Stuff like that. And hilariously enough, that's the plot of a Black Mirror episode that goes terribly south very quickly. So that should tell you how likely that's going to happen in real life.
I've seen somebody respond there to a question about Titan, where they were saying we need to know if they'll find any remains. I think that's the big question. And the response was just, No, it's one of those you stop becoming biology and become physics things.
It's more like it doesn't become biology, it becomes microbiology. Unfortunately.
That thing just disintegrated.
It imploded.
Yeah.
They just became pink mist. Like,
Yes.
that-
And that was probably for the best.
Merciful, it was definitely the best. They didn't. I think I seen what was it? I think human reaction time was 150 to 300 milliseconds.
Yes.
And at that PSI, I think they were saying it would take approximately like 10.
Yes. So they wouldn't have even noticed. They would literally just like the light
They
would
wouldn't have
gone
even
out.
registered.
Yeah.
They may have heard a noise, but that
Yeah.
would have been about it. So there would have been no pain, no nothing. So that's merciful. I mean, that's better than a lot of people go.
Yeah, to be fair. They basically had a Sopranos ending.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Bro,
actually
That's
actually a pretty good. That's a pretty
Yeah.
good analogy, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's not even callous. That's literally just how it would have happened. Everyone just like blacks out. It was like, oh, done. That's it.
Especially since it was carbon fiber, so it wouldn't have.
Warped.
That's not. It's not malleable with impact or anything, so it would have just shattered. So
Yeah, exactly.
I did see there are some things now which does make me adamant that guy, that CEO guy, is definitely getting a Darwin Award, because I've seen some of the quotes coming out from him previously, and they just have aged. Oh my God, diabolically bad. One of the things was he was literally doing an interview. I seen it. It was a video interview, and he was saying, sorry.
Well, yeah, like he was saying stuff like, "Oh, we don't need any kind of like engineers on."
He said I'm big into doing what people tell me I can't. They told me I couldn't do titanium and carbon fiber. Well, I did.
Sure, that already like. Have you seen an F1 car? They did that already.
No, I think he meant in a submarine. Yeah, the reason they didn't tell you is.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Like, yeah. Oh God, idiots.
And actually, the first time I heard about that was I fucking hate him, but it was an interview with Piers Morgan on the thing, where he was interviewing several people, including one who was a retired submarine captain.
Yeah.
And he brought up the point saying, essentially, I don't know why the fuck they use carbon fiber. That seems really stupid to me. You know.
Well, it is, to be fair.
And also, did you see it came out that the materials they used, including the carbon fiber, did you hear this recently? They bought it from Boeing.
Yeah.
And they got it at a discount because it had passed its shelf life.
Not even surprised.
That's apparently the latest. Now, that is the internet, so pinch of salt, please. Not sure if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be overly surprised if it was, which is terrible.
Yeah, it just seems par for the course, really. It just was a fool's errand from start to finish. So all this, thankfully, like the technical exposition actually makes sense here, because we are actually talking to a doctor this time, as opposed to some randomers telling us about like the fucking proteins and foods. So this is basically Chris explaining why there's like a shortage of organs in space, and it's basically because there's just everyone is rejecting them en masse.
Is she a doctor?
She is a doctor. She is the head of the hospital. She's the principal of it. I mean, can you not tell from the white lab coats, Dennis? I mean, it's pretty simple, like.
I want her to be my doctor.
I'm sure she would love being your doctor.
That I never ever see.
Damn it, Dennis, you're healthy again. Right? See you in 5 years. Bye.
Oh no, Nope, not healthy. Just don't go to doctors.
I don't want to know.
Yep.
I choose not to hear.
I figure if it's gonna kill me, it's gonna kill me.
Mm-hmm.